Hello everyone! So today I am here to do my March wrap-up. So March was a really weird reading month for me. I really didn't read for like 3 weeks basically because I was in a reading slump, but then in like the last week and a half-ish I managed to read like 6 things. Or actually one of them I did read during like the first 3 weeks, but in this month I read 6 books. So not the best reading month, but pretty good considering I didn't read for like weeks. But yes, anyways, I'm going to get right on into what I read this month. It's a lot of like kind of short things, but I don't know. You'll see. So the first book that I read, and this was the one book that I read during like the first 3 weeks of the month, that was Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. Honestly, I was really disappointed by this. This was a book that I had been really excited for because I adored Louise O'Neill's other book, Only Ever Yours, and I picked this up really excited for it. I had it on my wish list for thrift books for literally like a year, and I ended up really not liking it. I just did not care about this book at all. I think I ended up giving it literally like 2.5 stars or so. I don't know, I wasn't a big fan of her writing style in this, if I'm honest. I didn't really connect with it. I didn't really like the main character. Like, although I was feeling bad for her and what was happening to her during this book, I really didn't like her that much, if I'm completely honest. And I'm usually a person who likes like unlikable main characters. Like, I'm a big fan of that, but with her I guess I was expecting her to grow a little bit more. Like, yes, there is a growth of her, I guess, in this book, but like at the beginning of the book she's kind of like a whiny little spoiled kid, and at the end she's still very much the same. And I don't know, after just everything that happens in this book I was expecting a lot more from her growth, I guess. So 2 stars. This has a trigger warning for like sexual assault and basically everything that comes with that. It is a really short, like, it's not actually that short, it's like almost 400 pages, but I read it in like 2 hours. So yeah, yeah. So the next book I read was a book that I got for free off of NetGalley, and that was the graphic novel The Ghost and the Owl. I'm not sure who this was by. This book I gave 3 stars, mostly because of the length. This is a tiny graphic novel, so I'm really happy I got it for free because it was literally like 50 pages. But it is beautiful. It is a gorgeous graphic novel. It is just super short. This graphic novel follows a young girl who is a ghost, and she appears in this like foresty lake area, and this owl who sees her and really wants to help her kind of find out where she is, who she was in her past life and stuff like that, and it kind of takes them on a whole little journey. It kind of kind of a weird mix of really young childish stuff and like really adult stuff, because it also dealt with like kind of like violence and like sexual abuse and stuff like that, and like attempted rape, but also it was very much like, I have my friends so I can solve any issue, and it was like kind of a weird mix, I'm not gonna lie. But this was beautiful. If you have an opportunity to pick it up like off NetGalley, I would highly suggest it, but it's really short, I'm just warning you. So the next book I read was the book that kind of got me out of my reading slump, and that was The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. My mom bought this for me when I was home for spring break. So this has been the most recent obsessive thriller that everyone is crazy about. It's the new Gone Girl, as we have every year basically. But this one I actually really enjoyed. I think I gave it a 4-star. Very solid 4-star read. So this book follows a woman who has agoraphobia. So she is stuck in her house, and she kind of spies on her neighbors to just kind of like keep herself entertained because she's stuck in her house and doesn't really have any human interaction besides when her physical therapist comes over and when her like psychiatric therapist comes over. Those are really the only 2 people she interacts with. And a new family moves in to the house across the street, and they have a young boy, like a son, living with them, as well as the husband and wife, and she becomes kind of infatuated with this group of people and their family, especially the son, who, not like in a weird way, she just like really like likes talking to him, and he reminds her of her daughter and all of that kind of stuff. And then she sees something that she probably shouldn't have seen, and it kind of makes her just freak out a little bit. She thinks she's going insane. Nobody believes her when she says what she saw, and she's starting to question herself, but also just like everything about her life. This book was really, really good. It was just a very entertaining read. It's a kind of a big book for a thriller. It's like over 400 pages, but it flew by. Like, it didn't drag at all. Like, there was a couple places where it dragged a little bit, and the first plot twist I did guess, but the second one I totally didn't see coming. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really, really good plot twist because, again, didn't see it coming at all. I just thought the whole explanation of this story was really, really interesting and, like, just very, very cool. I liked it a lot. I also just really liked our main character. I definitely think this was a story that had to have a likable main character. I really liked her, and I really liked how this was written too. For a thriller, this had some really, really like beautiful lines and like beautiful passages of writing, which I don't really find I see a lot in thrillers. I find they're much more just written to be fast-paced and interesting, but this had some really beautiful writing to it. But yes, I really highly recommend this for people who really enjoy thrillers. I mean, I'm not a huge thriller person. I do pick them up every once in a while, and I did end up enjoying this one. So if you're looking for a good thriller, I recommend this one. So the next book that I completed was an ebook, and this was a just really short little ebook that I've had on my Kindle for a while, and that was The Hole by Ha-Young-Pyun. This book was it was hard for me to rate because there were certain parts that I really, really enjoyed about it and other parts that I found just really boring and tedious. So I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. This follows a man who he was recently in a car accident that he survived and his wife did not. And when he wakes up, he is completely paralyzed, and he can't even talk or do anything besides blink his eyes. And it is kind of about his rehabilitation and his just getting better from this car accident, but also kind of figuring out like almost like how the accident happened, and also just learning more about himself and his wife. I really liked the ending of this book. It was just very, very interesting and kind of not where I was expecting it to end. But yeah, this is just a really short little work, and it is translated from Korean, and I enjoyed it, but it was just, there was something a little weird about it, you know? I also feel like every single time I read like a Korean or Japanese or Chinese book, I'm always like, this is a very quiet, slow novel, and that is what this was. It was a very quiet, domestic, slow moving, inner person kind of novel. But I did really enjoy it. I don't have anything else to say. The next book I finished was another ebook, another really short ebook. I believe this is a Man Booker International Prize longlist book, and that is Die My Love. I really, really like this. I gave it a 4-star. This book is hard to explain. This book is written in a very like subconscious, like just flowing of the brain kind of way from this woman's point of view, but also there's a man's point of view in there, which it honestly took me a little bit to realize what was what. But she had a boyfriend, husband, guy in her life who got her pregnant, and she really didn't want to be pregnant, and it's basically kind of about her hating her husband and hating her child, and how she kind of wants to kill them and kind of just doesn't want to like deal with it anymore, but also like craves a normal existence. I found her subconscious and her mental dialogues just really, really interesting. I found this entire book just very, very interesting. It is written just kind of one long block of text, kind of like if you had said to someone, oh, just write and write and write, like just write, like don't filter anything out. That's what this book was, and I really enjoyed these kinds of books. I found this one kind of reminded me of like Hotel Iris or even Hong Kong, which I know a lot of people don't like Hong Kong, but I think that's probably the closest example that I have to this kind of writing. I found it just really interesting. There was a lot of like metaphorical stuff about a forest I don't think I really understood, but I really liked this main character. Again, I'm a big fan of kind of unlikable main characters, and she definitely was unlikable. She was a bitch, and I loved her. I also could really strangely relate to her. I don't know what that says about me, but I did find like just I enjoyed how this was written because it really was completely unfiltered. Like, a lot of us don't want to admit the really, really crude, weird, violent thoughts that we do have, and this author didn't filter out any of this woman's thoughts about things. And there are some fucked up things that happen in this book. Like, I don't really know what trigger warnings to give, but like, I don't know, there's like one point that she just like is done and like walks out of the house, but like kind of looks back in and like watches what happens, and the husband is just sitting on the couch watching her child who like is trying to walk, but he's like not actually able to walk yet, and the kid just falls into the fire, and the dad obviously freaks out and he like is trying to help the kid, and she was like just sitting there watching this all happening, and it was like a while later that she was like, oh fine, I guess I'll go help, like and I'm just like, I don't know, I found her very relatable in a weird way. I feel like she kind of embodies a lot of what like most people won't admit that they think like. And I don't know, I really enjoyed this story. I think I just really enjoy stories that don't sugarcoat anything. I say that a lot about certain books, mostly like Hong Kong's books like The Vegetarian and Human X. I just really like books that don't sugarcoat anything and don't filter anything out. And that was definitely this book. This was a really, really short one. It was like 120 pages. So that was my first read for the Man Booker International Prize. And the last book I read was definitely my favorite read of the month, and that is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This is a book that has been going around BookTube a little bit, not like huge yet, but I mostly saw Ariel Bissett talking about this, and I love Ariel, so I had to get it. I don't know what to call this. I think it might be YA, but it also is kind of NA, like new adult, because they're one of the characters is like a senior in high school and the other character's in college, and so it's kind of like in between a little bit. This book, I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. When I first started it, I thought it was gonna be another Fangirl or Eliza and Her Monsters, which I really enjoyed both of those books, but I was kind of like, wow, it's just another one of those. Like, you know, there's a person who makes content or makes something like he makes a radio show on YouTube, and then like there's gonna be the person who's the fan, and then they're gonna fall in love, and like and it wasn't that at all, and I really enjoyed that. This book follows a girl named Frances who is first off biracial, and I think she identifies as pansexual or bisexual, one of those. And she is biracial, and she is a senior in high school, and her entire life she has kind of separated herself as school Frances and real Frances. At school she is the head girl, she is the top person. I believe head girl is basically valedictorian, if I'm understanding that correctly. She gets the best grades in her class and all of that kind of stuff, and she's basically just always studying. Like, that's the only thing her school friends really know about her, is that she studies and she does well in school, and that is her only thing. But real Frances actually adores this radio show called Universe City, which is a YouTube thing that she has been following since it started a couple of years before this book takes place, and she discovers who the creator is when the creator Twitter messages her saying like he wants her art, her fan art, to be used in the actual show. From there she finds out who the creator is, and from there it just kind of starts a friendship and a whole story. This book is great because it has a lot of diversity. We have, our main character is biracial, we have a character who is Korean, she is bisexual, we have a demisexual character, an asexual character, we have a gay character, we have some bisexual ladies, we have a lesbian lady, we have a lot of amazing diversity in this book that I really enjoyed, because my least favorite thing like in books but also in IRL is when people, their entire personality is based on one trait of their person. Like when you're gay and like literally the only thing about you that anyone knows is that you're gay. Like, that really bothers me. Like, I find that is happening a lot in books because everyone wants these diverse characters, but authors don't know how to write them. And the gay guy is literally only the gay guy in the book. He has no other character traits. This book did it really well, that all of these defining factors were definitely a part of their personality and a part of their identity, but did not define them. Really enjoyed that. I also really like the conversation that this book brought up about university and college. I have always been a person who very much says that college is not for everyone. I don't believe in this whole thing that society puts on everyone, that every single person needs to go to college and university to make it in the world. I mean, I am at college and university because I have to be a teacher, but like, we have so many people, like I've met just so many people on my journey at college that I'm just like, you shouldn't be here. Not necessarily because you're dumb or anything like that, but like, university just isn't for everyone, and that's okay. But in today's society, it feels like every single person needs to go to college. This book definitely brings a very interesting conversation about that to the table, and I really, really enjoyed it, mostly because it is something I'm very passionate about. The one thing that I didn't like is that there is a character whose mother is definitely very, very, I guess abusive you could say, or neglectful. She was just a little bit too over the top. That was the one thing that brought this down from a 5-star for me, was she was just a little bit too over the top. Like, I understand there are definitely parents who are probably like her, but she is just, like, there's a part at the end, like, if people who read this book know what I'm talking about, like, the ending with her just, it was just a little bit too much. The whole thing with the train, like all that, it was just a little bit too much in my opinion. It felt very much like a soap opera rather than a book that had been really, really good up until that point. And that definitely brought it down just a tiny bit for me, because it is a 4.5 out of 5-star for me. But yeah, that mom was just a bit too much in my opinion. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed this book. I really liked all of the conversations it brought. I really liked all of the characters. I really liked all the diversity, and I just liked the conversation that this book brought to the forefront. So if you guys are looking for a YA contemporary novel that is a little bit different, I highly suggest this. It is a longer one, and I was kind of like, wow, this is gonna be a long contemporary, but trust me, it needs it. It needs to be that long. Like, this book really didn't drag at all. It was a very good pace. Alright, but those are all of the books that I read this month, and here are the physical books that I read, plus 3 ebooks. But yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and definitely tell me down in the comments if you guys have read any of these books and what your thoughts were on them, and I love you all, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye!